They thought you'd crumble without them, that you'd spiral, chase, overthink, and break yourself just to feel seen again, that your silence meant pain, that your growth was a front, that you'd eventually come crawling back. But here's the twist they never saw coming. You didn't beg. You built. You didn't chase. You chose yourself. You didn't fold under the weight of their absence. You forged fire from it. And now, they're the ones haunted by the silence they swore they didn't care about. They're the ones checking your stories from fake accounts. They're the ones wondering if they ever really mattered to you at all. Let's be real. Avoidant exes don't end things to find peace. They leave to escape accountability. They run, not just from you, but from their own reflection. They're experts in denial. They wear detachment like armor, but even the best liars can't silence regret forever. Avoidants live in that exact space, imagining rejection before it happens, fearing connection even as they crave it. So they detach, they ghost, they disappear in the moments you needed them most. But what they never tell you, what they'll never say out loud, is that they regret it. They regret pushing you away. They regret the games, the emotional walls, the sabotage masked as needing space. They regret underestimating your strength. Because you didn't just walk away, you leveled up. And they can't unsee that. But let's clear something up. This video isn't about stroking your ego. This isn't about hoping they come back. This is about understanding what they'll never admit, so you can finally let go of the fantasy that they ever could. Because if they couldn't say these things when you were in their life, what makes you think they're gonna say them now? Don't cling to a mistake just because you spent a lot of time making it. Aubrey de Grey. See, most avoidants have a tragic flaw. They equate vulnerability with weakness. They believe love is a threat, not a gift. And when they meet someone who actually sees them, they run. They run not because you weren't enough, but because you were too real. And that realness, that's exactly what they miss. That's exactly what they regret. But their ego is louder than their accountability. So, while they're out pretending they're unbothered, living some fake I'm healed lifestyle online, they're secretly drowning in the things they didn't say, the apologies they never gave, the love they couldn't hold, the peace they never knew how to accept. It is the power of the mind to be unconquerable. Seneca. And let's be honest, you've been questioning yourself. You've wondered if they ever cared. You've replayed the good moments. You've blamed yourself for the ending. But here's the truth you haven't been told. They didn't leave because you were too much. They left because they weren't enough for the level you were rising to. And while they're out there avoiding their own emotional mirror, you're doing the real work. You're healing. You're reflecting. You're rebuilding the version of you that doesn't settle for half love, half effort, or half truths. And you better believe they feel that shift, even if they pretend not to, even if they never reach out again, even if their pride stops them from ever speaking a word. Their silence is just a louder version of everything they're too weak to admit. So let me be very clear. By the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what they regret. Not because they'll tell you, but because it's written all over what they didn't do. This is your closure. This is your permission to stop wondering. This is your wake-up call to stop romanticizing people who don't even know how to be honest with themselves. So, keep watching. We're diving into the 7 regrets your avoidant ex will never say out loud, but absolutely feel. And I promise, once you hear number 4, you'll never see them the same again. Pro tip: there's a secret mantra hidden in number 4. Drop it in the comments when you find it. It's your badge of honor. But right now, if you're done waiting for apologies, if you're done thinking healing comes from someone else's mouth, if you're ready to own your power back, then type this in the comments right now. I'm not chasing closure. I am the closure. Type it. Claim it. Not for them, for you. If this hit you in the chest, if even one line made you stop and feel something, then don't just scroll. Do something about it. Subscribe so you never chase clarity, you become it. Like this video if you're done settling for emotional breadcrumbs, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Someone stuck thinking they were the problem when they were the lesson. This channel is for the self-aware, the unafraid, the reborn. Now buckle up, we're just getting started. Let's go deeper. Stay focused. Key point 1. They regret underestimating your absence. They thought your silence was weakness, that your distance was a waiting room, that eventually you'd come back like you always did, because they trained you to believe they were the prize. But then, you didn't. You didn't chase. You didn't check in. You didn't ask, "Are you okay?" When they disappeared without a trace. And that silence, it was louder than any scream. Here's what no avoidant will say out loud. They banked on your loyalty. They never expected your boundaries. They thought you'd be stuck in analysis paralysis, wondering what you did wrong, blaming yourself for their distance, replaying old memories like they were gospel. But when they looked up and saw that you were thriving without them, when they realized your glow-up was real, not just revenge, they felt something they weren't used to feeling: consequences. Because for once you didn't fold, you rose. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Maya Angelou. They regret underestimating your power, your ability to detach, your decision to walk with dignity instead of begging for clarity. They'll never say it because their ego won't let them. But the moment they realized you weren't coming back, that's the moment they felt something they haven't felt in a long time. Loss. Not of control, not of attention, but of something real. You were never the one who lost. They were. The second key point. They regret turning love into a threat. Let's get brutally honest. Your love scared the hell out of them. Not because it was toxic, not because it was needy, but because it was consistent, stable, honest, real. And avoidants don't know what to do with real. They're used to chaos. They feel safer in mixed signals, passive aggression, half-truths, and convenient silences. Because when love is unconditional, it forces them to face something they've been running from their whole life: intimacy. And intimacy requires vulnerability. It requires taking off the mask. It requires showing up even when it's uncomfortable. But avoidants weren't built for that kind of confrontation. They weren't taught that love can feel safe. So they ran from safety like it was danger. The wound is the place where the light enters you. Rumi. They regret confusing your love for pressure. They regret treating your emotional availability like a burden instead of a gift. And they regret turning someone who wanted to grow with them into someone they now can't reach at all. But here's the twist. They'll never say it. Because admitting they turned love into fear means confronting the truth that they were the unstable one. Not you. So they wear coldness like a badge of honor. They act like they're better off. They post pictures pretending they're thriving. But when the world goes quiet, when they're laying in bed with no one to text, no one to connect with, no one who actually knows them, that's when the regret creeps in. They'll never say it. But your love was never too much. It was exactly what they weren't ready to receive. The third key point 3, they regret making you question your worth. This one cuts deep, because avoidants don't just leave. You walk away feeling like you were the problem, and they know that. They know how to subtly withdraw, how to punish you with silence, how to deflect blame until you're apologizing for asking for basic human decency. They know how to plant just enough doubt so you wonder, was I too much? Was I not enough? Did I push them away? That emotional confusion, that self-doubt. It wasn't an accident. Avoidants often won't yell, won't explode, won't openly disrespect you. They weaponize withdrawal. They vanish in moments of emotional closeness. They reward distance and punish vulnerability. And in doing so, they quietly train you to betray your own needs, just to keep the peace. He who does not value himself cannot value anything or anyone. Ayn Rand. They regret it deeply, but their pride will never let them admit that they made someone question their own value just to avoid dealing with their own wounds. They'll pretend like nothing happened, like the confusion, the gaslighting, the push-pull dynamic was just bad timing or too much pressure. But behind that emotional poker face, they know. They know you walked away carrying pain that they caused. And when they see you start to rise again, when they see you reclaim your self-worth, your voice, your standards, they feel it. Not because they care in the way you once hoped they would, but because deep down they know they never deserved the love you were giving so freely. They'll never say this out loud, but here's the unspoken truth. You were never asking for too much. You were just asking the wrong person. Key point 4. They regret that you finally saw through them. This is the regret they feel the most, but can never say. Because avoidants work so hard to curate an image. Detached, in control, unbothered. They wear emotional armor and call it boundaries. They call their inconsistency just how I cope. They call their emotional immaturity being independent. But you saw through it. You saw the cracks in the mask. You saw the fear behind the distance. You saw that their cool wasn't confidence. It was avoidance in disguise. And once you saw them clearly, they lost the ability to control the narrative. The truth does not change according to our ability to stomach it. Flannery O'Connor. That's what avoidants fear more than intimacy. Being seen. Because being seen means being held accountable. Being seen means no more excuses. Being seen means someone knows them, really knows them, and loves them anyway. And when you love them, even after seeing it all, they ran. Not because they didn't care, but because being fully seen made them feel exposed and unworthy. They regret that you caught on, that you stopped explaining yourself, that you started responding with silence instead of desperation. Because now, they don't get to play the role of the cool one who walked away. Now they have to sit with the reality that you figured them out and left anyway. Here's what they'll never say out loud. They miss you. They still think about you. But they know they can't come back because they know you see the truth now. And the truth? It doesn't need closure. It doesn't need apologies. It doesn't need another maybe. It needs acceptance. So if this point hit you hard, if it opened something in you, then type this secret mantra in the comments right now. I saw through the mask and I chose peace. Because that's what makes you different. You didn't just survive their avoidance. You outgrew it. The fifth key point. They regret that you started loving yourself more than you loved them. Let's be real. There was a time when your world revolved around them, when you twisted yourself into emotional origami just to keep their attention, when you dimmed your light to avoid pushing them away, when you sacrificed your needs for their comfort. And they got used to that. They fed off it. They got comfortable being the one you prioritized, even when they didn't earn it. Because people like that don't just want love. They want power. But then something changed. Maybe it was slow. Maybe it came after one final cold text or a silent goodbye that felt like a knife. But suddenly, the obsession broke. The pedestal cracked. And you started pouring all that energy back into yourself. And that, more than anything, is what they regret. Because now they're on the outside, watching you do what they never thought you would. Choose yourself. Love yourself like your life depends on it. Because it does. Kamal Ravikant. They regret the moment you realized your peace was worth more than their potential. They regret the day you stopped romanticizing confusion and called it what it was. Emotional manipulation. They regret that you stopped fighting for someone who wasn't even fighting with you, only against themselves. And while they'll pretend they're unbothered, deep down they know they lost something rare. Someone who loved them, not for what they showed, but for who they were becoming. Someone who believed in their potential more than they did. They regret that your self-love was the very thing that broke the spell. And now, you're untouchable. Not because you're cruel, not because you're overcompensating, but because you finally made the scariest, most powerful decision of all. You stopped loving people who make you question if you're worthy of it. And they felt that shift, the moment you became the version of yourself they were never prepared to meet. Key point 6. They regret that you didn't break without them. Let's talk about ego. Avoidant exes thrive off the quiet assumption that you'll fall apart without them, that you'll sit by the phone, that you'll stalk their socials, that you'll crumble under the weight of their absence. Because let's be honest, they needed you to need them. They just didn't know what to do when you didn't. They expected you to stay stuck in heartbreak, to keep replaying memories, to chase closure, to beg for crumbs of clarity. But when you didn't, when you rose from the silence like a damn phoenix, that's when the panic kicked in. The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. Marcus Aurelius. They regret that they weren't the earthquake. They were just a tremor. Temporary, loud, but easily forgotten once you found your center. Because instead of spiraling, you evolved. You hit the gym. You traveled. You started that business. You glowed the hell up. You turned your heartbreak into fuel. And they couldn't compete with that. And while they're out pretending they're unbothered, masking the emptiness with distractions, rebounds, or fake positivity, you're out here becoming the version of yourself they were never built to stand beside. They'll never admit it. But here's what's looping through their mind. Damn, they didn't need me at all. And that realization, it kills them. Because it destroys the fantasy they were holding on to. That you were the broken one. That they were the best you'd ever have. That you couldn't grow unless they returned. But they were wrong. and now they regret ever thinking their exit would leave you hollow. Because you didn't just survive, you reconstructed. A key point 7. They regret that you became everything they pretended to be. This is the deepest cut, the one they feel but will never put into words. Because avoidants are masters of the facade. They pretend to be above it. They act like they're healed. They throw around words like self-aware, emotionally unavailable, not ready for a relationship, like it's some kind of intellectual badge. But here's the punchline. You became everything they only talked about. You did the inner work. You sat with your pain. You faced your wounds, healed your patterns, and didn't numb the ache. You transformed it. While they avoided the mirror, you became one, reflecting everything they couldn't bear to face in themselves. We don't rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our systems. James Clear. They regret that your glow-up wasn't just physical, it was energetic. That your clarity outgrew their confusion. That your calm exposed their chaos. They regret that the person they once breadcrumbed now carries a presence they can't ignore, even from a distance. That your absence hits harder than any conversation they ever had with you. Because deep down, they know you were never asking for too much. You were just offering what they were never capable of receiving. And now, you live in their blind spot. Not because you're hiding, but because they don't have the emotional range to look you in the eyes anymore. They told you, you deserve better. And guess what? You became it. And that's the kind of regret they can't bury under distractions or rebounds or stories they tell their friends. You became everything they were faking, everything they said they wanted to be, but never had the courage to become. And you did it without them. So now, you know, they'll never say it. They'll never text it. They'll never admit it. Not to you, not to themselves. But that doesn't make it any less true. They regret it. Every damn thing. Not because you begged, not because you chased, but because you didn't. You walked. You healed. You grew into a version of yourself they'll never have access to again. And that silence they left you with, that space they thought would destroy you, you turned it into power. If you knew how quickly they would forget you once you broke, you'd stop breaking for them. So let them regret, let them perform, let them run from mirrors, because while they fake their peace, you've earned yours. Now do me one favor before you leave this video. Type this in the comments right now. I'm not chasing closure. I am the closure. Say it not for them, but for you. Let the world know you're not shrinking to fit someone else's emotional capacity ever again. And if you felt this video in your gut, if it opened your eyes, if it gave you strength, subscribe and join the community of people who are done begging for love and ready to embody it. Like this video to let YouTube know this message matters. Share it with someone who needs to hear it, even if that someone is you tomorrow. And you're going to want to stick around for what's coming next. Because while they're acting cold, next up, your avoidant ex is acting cold, but behind closed doors. Spoiler, that silence, it's not strength, it's suppression. And what's really happening behind the scenes? You're about to find out. You've done the healing. Now it's time to own the power that healing gave you. I'll see you in the next one. You're not just moving on, you're evolving. Let's go.